first thing is like if you are an administrator who's managing your environment, you would want to understand that if the vulnerable jar or component is actually present in your environment. So the log4j which we are discussing. So we go to asset management. We can actually check if the vulnerable asset is present in our environment. So you can see application details here. This is a list of all the applications that are known to be installed, that are identified to be installed in this environment. So I would just choose all and search for log4j. So it would list the devices that have these components, and it is a straight view for any admin to know that these devices have the affected component installed. So right now we can see that we have four devices where this is known to five devices where it is known to be installed, and two of them have 1.2.17, which is a fixed version. uh, these two devices have the lower version, which is affected. Virendra already shared that 2.0 up to 2.15 is affected. So we do see two of them that have this uh, vulnerable application in the affected range. And here we do not know. We will go further and figure out why. This basically the reason version is not identified here is because it is from a remote check. We do not have that detail, which is why it is not being shown up here. So next, once you know that there is log4j installed, and you may want to read about it and figure out how critical it is. For that, we have a section called as high fidelity attacks, where we maintain all the critical vulnerabilities that are being exploited in the wild. When there is a lot of information, even anything that gets exploited, if there's a botnet, there's a malware that is released, we track it and ensure that you get to know in your environment if there is a vulnerability that is open and can be exploited using the exploits that are known publicly. So here for log4j, we have one of these MBEs from where you can actually read about it, figure out what this exploit is trying to do. Also, we mentioned the other details like affected versions and specific behavior of a particular malware or botnet. There are other malwares or botnets also which Virendra mentioned, and we also can identify the number of devices that are affected. So here I can see that there are two devices that already are affected and exploitable. So it is easy for admin to prioritize and think about patching these devices first, and over any other device or application that is present in the environment. So going further, how do we identify it? Virendra already mentioned that we have local and remote scan. Why we have this combination of local and remote scan? Because in any company, the environment is very diverse. You have different type of devices, and it cannot be just a local scan can detect all the vulnerabilities. So here especially log4j, with the challenges that we are seeing, with the kind of environments that are coming up as affected, and every day, I think starting from Saturday, every day the number of applications that have been known to be affected has been increasing. So we need to ensure that we are up to the mark even in detection, and ensuring that more and more devices we can detect and protect them at the earliest. So I'll just show you how we can scan. Yeah. So for local scan, once an agent is installed on the device, it would list here. So you can just choose. I have a DBN11 device. I can say select that and say scan now, which would scan the device, and it takes around 5 minutes for the scan to complete. And you can actually go in and check if you are affected. we do see the vulnerable component, that liblog 4J, which we are talking of, and the CV that we have been discussing in this webinar 44228 is affected. So this is our local check that identifies if a particular binary is installed on the machine and figures out if it is affected. Then we also have remote checks, which will run from a remote machine, check if a different device is affected and flag it as vulnerable. So let's go and see how we do that. So I clicked on the settings. Now coming to organizations, I choose SecPod here, network scanner. So I would just want to brief what these are. Yeah, so scanner basically is you can for running a remote scan, I am a device X needs to scan another device Y. So the scanner needs to be running from X. That device is the scanner. So I can actually set up any of my devices where agent can be installed as a scanner, and it would get listed here. I would show how do we do that. Then scan config. So in case of log4j, shell, I would want to specifically scan a particular port or a set of ports and a particular network. For that, I can use scan config. Scan policy. Now we have a huge set of remote checks that we use for identifying vulnerabilities on remote environments and network devices. So you may not be, at least at this point when log4j is making so much noise, we may not be of interest in scanning the other vulnerabilities. We might be keen in checking if my environment is affected for this. So you can actually update the policy here. Come down to I think I've already selected log4j. Yeah, so this you can just choose. Ideally, if you're running it on a regular basis, we select all the rules, so you know any network vulnerability exists in your environment, you can identify. But in times like this, where you are interested in a particular vulnerability, you can only select that and create policy. So update policy, it would say this is my default policy. You can also create a fresh policy and use that as well. So I'll just show how do we set up a scanner and make sure we are able to scan a remote device. So click on create a new scanner, choose a device, like whichever device is having agent installed will get listed here. You can actually decide which device you want to use as scanner. Scan config name, this is just a name or a placeholder for you to identify what is the vulnerability. So or whatever you issue you want to identify and figure out easier way, so we can name it. And targets, I can actually give a subnet or a network or the exact IP. It again depends on my choice. Then exclude list. So generally in our corporate environments, we do not want to scan some servers or critical machines. So if you're choosing the entire network, you can actually exclude specific devices and provide their IPs comma separated list. And then there is a drop down for ports. So any remote scan, you need to, it would scan on the open ports. So based on the vulnerability, you can make a choice on which ports you want to select. And if you want details, you can always click on this question marks and it would provide additional information. Apart from that, you can also choose none here and enter custom port. So if you know 8080 is the port it's going to be listening on, you can actually update that as well. I would be choosing default ports. Scan schedule, you can again come back and choose based on your preferences. I'm not, one second, yeah, what is it? Unique. Okay. There is already a name, it says. I'm just creating. Yeah, I already told you about the scan policy that I created. So I'm choosing the same policy. So you can see here it is getting the scanner ready. Once it is ready, we can call for a scan. Yeah, so I would just move on to the next because, yeah, here is the scan button. It would get enabled as soon as it is ready. Now, if you go to the devices page and check for the network, this is a network device that has been scanned, and you can see that the same vulnerability that we were talking of is detected here as well. So we use this combination of both local and remote checks to ensure that we have complete detection in an environment and complete visibility. Now, once we have detected, again, log4j has been challenging in many ways. Once we have detected that it is vulnerable, we again want to patch or mitigate this issue. And patching also it has not been very straightforward because of the kind of jar that is being deployed and the nature of the vulnerability. So if there are binaries where patches are released by the vendor, so if you were to look at Elastic Search or Logstash, the patches are already available from the vendors. As and when vendors are releasing these patches, we are going ahead and making sure that we can patch them as well. But there is also challenges like it cannot be in all the environments. We are not able to because not all the vendors have confirmed the vulnerability, or they have not yet updated their packages, because many are still figuring out if they are vulnerable, and they're working on creating the patches. So a workaround is available. Even that can be deployed using a product. I would just demonstrate on that too. So to fix the issue, we move to patch management PM, then move to most critical patches, all groups. So I showed you the vulnerabilities were present in DBL. We can choose both of them or either, and then choose the patch, apply selected patch. Here you can just provide a placeholder name for whatever vulnerability you are trying to patch. This is useful when you want to know the status, if it has been patched, and if there is a reboot pending, it is useful for you. You can also configure whether you want to patch immediately, wait for a scheduled scan, or do it in a later point of time. And if you want to control reboot, that option as well is available. There are various other options, like you can say by when it should complete, or if you want to stop a service before starting to patch, or bring up a service post patching, that is possible through remediation scripts. Then if you want to push a notification to the customer environment and inform them, I mean, if you want to inform the employees or the owners of the desktop that there is a remediation activity, you can push a notification, or you can test on various devices to ensure that this patch is not going to break something. That option as well is available. So we can choose. Right now, I would just be setting the remediation job. So we can say immediate and say apply selected patches. This is when a binary is available and patch has been released by the vendor. So in case of Elasticsearch or Logstash, we can do this. But what in cases where there is no binary available and vulnerability exists? And since it is such a critical issue, we do not want to wait for the patch to be released. We want to take action. So there are workarounds which Apache has released, and we have created our scripts internally to handle this vulnerability, to ensure that the class is not loaded, so that it cannot be exploited, and there is no lookup activity happening. So if that script is already available in our blog, and how we can deploy it using Now go to EM. EM is endpoint management. Under that, actions. software deployment. I'm choosing Linux. So I've already uploaded the patch. But if it's not uploaded, you can actually download. The zip is available in our blog. You can download it and just drag and drop here. Once it is loaded, it says complete. You can close. Then it would list here. You need to click on this, edit, change the, you need to mention where this is a shell script that runs in your endpoints and removes the vulnerable class. So you need to provide the path where the shell scripts needs to be extracted, and this is the name of the shell script. Once you've updated that, you can choose. Just a second. Yeah, you can actually choose here. Debian has the fix. If there is any other application like Flink where fix is not released, you can choose say next, and then it is just the way we set the remediation job. That is how this works as well. This is not only for zip files that are created internally by us. Even if a script or a mitigation script is created by your team, that too can be uploaded, and the same process can be followed for installing it.